Welcome to Combat Sports Talk, a podcast dedicated to UFC and Bellator discussion, the MMA community, and combat sports in general. I'm your host, Ryan Smith, and joining me this week are our co-hosts, KC, Onyebuchi, and John, the Keys to Victory Keys. How are you guys doing tonight?
Okay, I
come on. Like, dead air is like awful, man. I'm like, oh my God, is it not working? I'm freaking out here.
I wanted to see how long we could hold it, but yeah, we're good. I'm good. Once again, another beautiful night here at Casa de Llaves. Talking about the stuff we love.
All right, KC.
Can you not hear me?
I can now. I just was making sure. So KC, I hear that you are pulling an all-nighter.
Oh yeah. I was like, wait, what are you talking about? My brain doesn't work. Yes, I have been up since 2:30 yesterday, and that means I have had a total of 3 hours of sleep in the last 24 hours.
All right. So for those of you out there, the slurred words you're going to hear from KC tonight are not because he's been drinking. It's just because he has been robbed of sleep.
Or have I? I should have been drinking. And the perfect excuse.
All right. Well, there were no fights. There were no fights that we were covering from last week.
Cared about.
So, see, I was trying to be a little more PC. There are no fights that we were covering last week.
I love LFA. Like, much love for those guys and the work that they do in the octagon.
There it is. So we're going to jump right into finding the angles with the headlines that are making waves in the UFC world. Here we go. Finding the angles. This is Finding the Angles. This is where we look at the headlines and the news that everybody's talking about this week. I know I'm talking about it. I don't know how many other people are talking about it, but Tony Ferguson, El Cucuy, is cleared for combat. Look out, lightweight division. El Cucuy is back.
Allegedly. Something will come up.
No.
He's going to kick a car. And his leg's going to fall completely off. And what does that do then? Okay.
He is not going to be injured, at least not until he has booked a fight with Khabib.
Oh, yeah, but then he won't make the fight.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like that's when he's going to get injured. Like, he's going to do all kinds of stuff. He is literally going to climb to the top of Mount Everest, jump off of it, and come back completely unscathed. And then he's going to look at himself wrong in the mirror once the Khabib fight is booked, and he's going to be blind. Like, that's what's going to happen.
Fun fact: most injuries on Everest actually happen on the way down, not up.
That is. I've heard about climbing mountains that the harder part of climbing a mountain is actually working your way down than going up. So I would support it. Nice. So Tony Ferguson released a video. It was 1 minute and 53 seconds of greatness. Him stacking, those I don't know what you'd call them. They're like a stand that you jump up. You do your vertical jump on top of those. Well, he was stacking some of those up, and he was doing like,
the plyo boxes?
Yeah. So he was stacking. He's got these plyo boxes that he's stacked up, and he's doing like yoga on it. And then he climbs up on one of them, and starts doing choreography from the Karate Kid. Whenever he's standing on the boat and he's doing his katas for Mr. Miyagi. That's kind of how the video ends. Tony Ferguson is back, y'all. Like the world is coming back together again for the UFC. I'm so excited.
Or it could crack like an egg. Okay, at this point.
I don't think you can call it back until he's actually in the ring fighting. We've seen that he can train. Congratulations. Can you fight?
Okay. All right. Well, when we talk about somebody,
I'm talking so much trash.
Look, I can't.
Don't find us, Kukui. Don't find us, man.
This is clearly just me talking out of tiredness.
Okay, I'm just saying, dude trips over a wire in a TV station. I really can't defend the hardiness of his body. I'm sorry.
Right.
Like you ripped your leg almost off tripping over something at a TV station. I can't say that you are, the most robust and vigorous person out there.
Fully support that argument.
Okay, but he is back, and that's all that matters. Darren Till. We went round and round on Darren Till last week about his comments, and if you guys missed the comments from last week, basically he's talking about how committed he is to his craft and his game. He says he's got a girlfriend who's nearly 7 months pregnant. I don't really care. I've got a girlfriend in Brazil right now. I haven't seen her for 1 year. I don't really care. I just care about my legacy and greatness. That's what I'm in this for. Those were the words that set the Twitter sphere ablaze. People were upset. We were even kind of at each other's throats last week about whether or not this was selfish, whether or not this was appropriate, or whether or not this was something completely different. So he did respond to this. And so what is interesting, he was on the Obviously Fight Talk podcast where he said that it's all about being selfish until the 8th of September. He said it's funny. He hasn't even read what people are saying about him, but his girlfriend at that time was sitting right next to him laughing. And so what he's trying to figure out is how is it that, people are upset when his girlfriend is literally with him? And people are upset about what he's saying.
He can't be that obtuse. Like, all right, you can try to cast aspersions on people's mindset and what they were going through, but like no sane person is like, oh, I don't understand what I did wrong. Like, come on, just own that you misspoke, you said it poorly, but don't act like it's no big deal. That's disingenuous at best.
At best. I'm glad that he did clean it up, but yeah, sometimes you just got to own it. Like, man, I was just talking out my butt this time, and I don't mean it. And he's like, he could just even say, look at my previous conversations where I'm trying to get a fight bonus just to go see my child. Okay,
yeah,
something on that level. But just to act like, just to take offense that people are taking offense, that doesn't compute in my world. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I can definitely see what you guys are saying here. That perhaps he could have just said, my fault. I said the wrong thing. I love my girlfriend. I love my daughter. I'm just focused on this fight. But we do get the gist of what he was trying to say, right? Like, he is focused on this fight, and that other distractions that could get him, that could cause him
created,
that the distractions that could cause him to lose focus are not of his concern right now. What he is focused on is solely.
That's the problem with his statement is those aren't distractions. Those are, for most other fighters, their support system.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I mean, I think that's a valid argument. Some people see it as a distraction, potential distraction. So I think we understand what he was attempting to say, whether or not we agree with it or whether or not we believe that it could have been said in a more eloquent way. We do know what he was trying to communicate. That's what I'm trying to get here.
I concur. Okay.
All right. John, we do know that what he was trying to communicate, yes?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
A for effort, F for execution. Okay. There you go.
All right, there we go. Speaking of execution, Kamaru Usman is on standby in the event that Tyron Woodley and Darren Till fail to make it to the octagon September 8th. here in Dallas, Texas. So we had talked about this on the show a couple of episodes ago about how the UFC needs to start looking at a replacement person, allowing them to train, allowing them to make weight, and then paying them some type of fee for simply being available in the event that something goes wrong with the main event. It looks as though this fight between Tyron Woodley and Darren Till have a plan B, and that plan B is the Nigerian Nightmare, Kamaru Usman. I'm excited about that. I think this is great.
I think it's definitely well, I think this is a good step, the first real good step in the right direction for the UFC into, instituting something like this, to have an optional fighter, I think this is a good step forward.
I hope it's not a one-off also. Yeah.
Yeah, and I hope they don't need them either, because I would rather see the fight. We know what fight we really.
It's booked. Yeah.
Right. Well, that one's for the title. If Tyron Woodley were to get injured or something like that, then
interim.
No, Usman would walk in, and that would just be for poops and giggles. Because you've already got an interim title holder in Colby Covington, which, just as an aside, I think that Colby Covington is just content with being the interim title holder. That, as long as he doesn't fight anyone, he can claim that he is the champ. And so he's going to try to milk that as much as he can, because personally, I think that whether he fights Kamaru Usman, Tyron Woodley, or Darren Till, I think that belt's coming home with someone else.
Yeah, so as someone who refuses to fight just so that they can claim that they're not taking losses, what's that like? What's that mindset? How do you get there?
I don't know. The thing is that when someone beats his opponent twice and then his opponent runs away with the belt, takes it all the way to Denver.
Henry Cejudo beat Mighty Mouse.
Did Henry Cejudo beat Mighty Mouse? Does he have the belt? Thank you.
He does.
Okay, so give me my belt back.
Moving on.
So, UFC 229 is shaping up to be a pretty awesome card. So this is the Conor Khabib fight. This is what's happening in October. Derek Lewis, the Black Beast, is fighting Alexander Volkov. That is the co-main event. So we've got a heavyweight co-main event, and this card is also featuring Sugar Sean O'Malley. So this is going to be a pretty good card. I think it's shaping up very nicely.
I kind of hate it. Mostly because the people who are going to get paydays from this, I don't fully agree with. I don't think that Sugar Sean O'Malley has done enough. I think he is an interesting fighter, but this is another one of these, UFC wants to put him on the hype train rather than promoting, people who've put in the work over the years.
I agree with you, but in the interest of we need to get back in the black, they're doing what they have to do. That's the only reason why I'm excited. Well, no, I'm not gonna lie. I'm very excited about this card. There's a lot of good fights up here. Am I interested in seeing Sugar Sean O'Malley fight? Not really, because they like you said, Casey. There are better fighters that they could have put on here. There are some unanswered. There's a lot more unanswered questions in the UFC. But in an effort to promote some younger talent up to put them in the spotlight, and I agree with this. Maybe he could have been on the preliminaries. I don't know. We'll see where he ends up. Let's just say it like that. Let's see where he ends up. He might end up in the early prelims, and I'll be good with that.
No. Okay? He's on the main card. That's the thing.
Is he on the main card?
This is the second pay-per-view where Sugar Sean O'Malley has been on the main card. So this isn't the first time he's been on the main card as a fighter. I don't even know if he's ranked, which I think is I think it's a valid point that you bring up, KC. But at the same time, I gotta say he's an exciting fighter. I mean, him, I hope
USADA catches him real quick, because for all the trash that people give the Diaz brothers for being potheads. Like, the man literally walks around in cannabis leaf clothing. Like, come on now. Like, I have too many problems with us saying, like, what's bad for other fighters is good for Sean.
But if I think what's he called it? The box, the guy that's destined to get the pop, to be on the hype train. I think Sugar is going to be is the box right now, and they might. And we'll see where it goes. Maybe he gets knocked out in this pay-per-view. Maybe he gets dominated. I seriously doubt it.
Yeah, I doubt it.
Yeah,
I think they put another tomato can in the cage with him.
Yeah, I mean, so
that's what it's called, a tomato can.
Yeah.
So okay,
it's depressing, but okay. But anyway, I'm better now.
Yeah. I mean, you're both right. That Sugar Sean O'Malley, I like to watch him fight just because of the speed. I mean, he's got great striking. Dude is fast. It's fun to watch. But does he deserve a placement on a main card when other fighters who have paid their dues don't have that spot? Yeah, I think that's unfair. But then again, people want to see Sugar Sean O'Malley fight. This is why CM Punk got on the main card and Curtis Blades and Alistair Overeem didn't get on their main card. They were on the prelim. So, I mean, it's all about who people want to come and watch. And as long as people want to come and watch Sugar Sean O'Malley, not that the UFC needed the help. I mean, everybody's going to watch this fight because it's Conor versus Khabib.
I don't think that it's really that people want to see Sugar Sean. I really don't.
No, so,
he hasn't had enough time in to build up his fan base. So to give that as the excuse of, he's a draw. You got Conor McGregor. There's no bigger draw. Like, you could literally put Amanda Nunes as the co-main event and still crush it.
Which, they should have done that. I mean, man, why couldn't they get Amanda Nunes and Chris Cyborg in the ring? Not that I approve of that fight, but that would have been, I mean, both of them would have gotten their paydays. It would have been great.
I think some of the women fighters deserve it.
So, speaking of women fighters, Twitter.
Depending on the headline you're about to say, that's a
we're there. We're already there.
We are there. Yeah, I'm looking for a segue. So you set me up nicely, but it's not fun news. Twitter has blown up about Angela KGB Lee allegedly being assaulted by her husband, Donnie Aaron. Now, you might remember this name, Angela KGB Lee, because we talked about her several weeks ago when she was out on vacation, took a picture with her husband, and someone noticed a swastika tattoo on his arm. And so it created huge uproar that she was married to a neo-Nazi. And this is coming, in the climate that we are in right now, especially, with the last weekend and the Unite the Right protest that occurred in D.C. This is a time where there's a lot of people who are sensitive to those types of imagery and symbols. She came to his defense and defended him. But now reports are coming out after UFC 227. He assaulted her, allegedly, assaulted Angela KGB Lee. Middle Easy has a report by a friend of Lee's. Her name is Andy Wynn. And the story that she tells about what happened that night is harrowing. If you go and search that, you will not believe what went down and what transpired. So, I'm going to go over to you first, John. What is your reaction to this story?
Wow. I'm at a loss. I'm at a loss for words. If everything that she said is true, there's a lot. I mean, psychologically speaking, and I hate to go on my nerd kick for a second, but from what I saw there's a lot of abuse, and it's not just physical here. Okay, this is some serious emotional codependency. You name it. It's an episode of SVU, literally, in my opinion.
Wow.
This is bad. Chrissy Mack, War Machine, you say it's on the same level. I would elevate this situation. Okay, I think this is far worse than the Christy Mack War Machine, because at least on, like you said offline, at least one's in jail. Okay, one served time for this. This what I read right here, if it's 100% true, this is some craziness here. And I feel very bad for KGD for going through that. But at the same time, it's like all the signs were there that this dude is no good, and you still stuck with him. You gotta have a friend there that's gonna sit there and say, "Yo, you need to get away from this." Okay, by all means.
All right,
so
KC.
I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, just a small point of correction. It was not a swastika tattoo that Donnie has. It's the dual lightning. It's a symbol for
the SS
white power.
Yeah, the stormtrooper. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, it was problematic from the start, but I mean, as John alluded to, the story just reeks of a lot of just signs of trauma and the things that they've been through together. So it's not a healthy or ideal situation, but I mean, to say that she had to use the skills that she's learned in the gym for her job, to have to actually utilize that to protect her own life is, man, thank goodness she had those skills, because it sounds like this Donnie character is like not. He has a propensity to become unhinged, and that's problematic. So, I mean, thank goodness that she had the skills to protect herself.
Yeah, I think you guys have done an excellent job of just, putting the context and the perspective around the serious nature of this. It's one thing, that relationships aren't perfect, that people have to work with their relationships, but this goes well beyond what I would consider, a healthy relationship that you work on. This is a destructive relationship that ultimately, if you have to fight your partner, then you should not have that person as a partner. It should always be about uplift. It should be about, how can you each become better, being together as opposed to being apart. And the fact is that Angela KGB Lee needs to be apart if she wants to be better. If she wants to be healthy from this person. This is bad. Speaking of domestic abuse, there is a person who is giving the UFC a really hard time right now, which is Brendan Schaub. And Brendan Schaub was a former UFC fighter. He's kind of gone into a situation where he's an adversary now to the UFC. He's quite cynical about what goes on in the UFC, and he's giving a hard time to the UFC for giving a contract to Greg Hardy, who was accused of domestic abuse. I do not believe he was ever convicted of domestic abuse.
Nope. He was not.
So, but that is the scarlet letter that hangs over his head, is because he was allegedly accused of domestic abuse. He's trying to make a new career in the UFC, and it is his past continues to haunt him as he tries to make a new career. Basically, Brendan Schaub is saying, how dare you give this person, Greg Hardy, a shot in the UFC and reward him when you've got someone who is more deserving in the form of Nick Newell, who has overcome adversity to have a shot at going into the UFC. KC, your reaction to this?
Yeah, I don't know that Nick Newell is more deserving because he's got a better story. The reality is that you fight to win, and if you can't win, you don't get a contract. Like, I think juxtaposing those two backstories is disingenuous because they're not on the same level. Like, if Nick Newell had won 2 fights in a row in the first round, then yeah, this is a good conversation to have. But one fighter lost his opportunity. The other one is finishing people in spectacular fashion early. So is it ideal? No, it's really not. Greg Hardy has allegedly done some despicable things. But from that, he also has said that he's grown. And I really don't hear Brendan Schaub calling out other fighters who have a dodgy past. Like, there are a lot of people on the UFC roster that we could easily have this exact same discussion or a very similar one given criminal past. So I think it's though I'm not fully on board with it, dude, Greg Hardy's winning, and his backstory, to me, this is, again, I differ from a lot of fans where I'm not in it for the story. I'm in it to see fighting styles and to see someone play chess on a whole nother level. So it's not about the backstory. And does that forgive everything that happened? No, but I also don't believe that. I mean, if Brendan Schaub thinks that he's not fit for the UFC, what job can Greg Hardy do? That would be my rebuttal.
John, you got something to add to there?
Yeah, and that's true. You're right. If he doesn't have, for Brandon Schaub to say what he said, to me, almost smacks to I won't say a political commentary, but a commentary on our society where we say that you're innocent until you're proven guilty. But clearly, Brandon Schaub has already condemned him and won't forgive him. Okay, we're supposed to say in our American culture, that once that you're to be forgiven, even if you did something like that. Okay, he was accused, but no charges. They didn't stick. It fell off. So with that said, why is it that he can't pursue this career? I'm sorry for Nick Newell. He did it. He did the best that he could. He came up short. No fault in that. Greg Hardy, on the other hand, not only he's making it. He's using his God-given talent to knock people out. What's the problem with that? Do people do wrong every day? Yes. Am I saying that that's an easy excuse for him to do what he allegedly did? No. Okay. I do not believe in abuse of any kind. But if he didn't do it and they can't prove it, and that's the most important part. If you can't prove that he did it, drop it. Okay? Why are we still trying to condemn this man who's trying to have a redemption? For something that he didn't do.
It's technically, since I want to call Brendan out on not calling out other fighters, technically speaking, Conor McGregor is also has assaulted a woman via dolly.
Wow.
I mean,
Michael Chiesa has long hair, but he is still. I mean,
it wasn't just Michael Chiesa that was injured.
Ray Borg.
Oh, really?
I think Rose would have an argument against this. I think a couple other people there.
I'm sorry.
Really, you did that. You did that.
I knew you were talking about Rose, who incidentally has hair shorter than both of those dudes. But yeah, I mean, she was traumatic. I mean, it was traumatic. She was traumatized by the attack. I don't see Brendan Schaub. I don't see Brendan Schaub going after Conor about that. I don't see Brendan Schaub going after a lot of fighters, like you said, who have done other things that. I mean, where's Brendan Schaub talking smack about John Jones? He ain't brave enough to do that. So,
yeah.
And he better be glad he's retired, because Greg Hardy does fight at his weight class. And we know that, the first fighter in Mike Tyson's Punch-Out is Brendan Schaub, a.k.a. Glass Joe. So, I agree. It's really one of those things where it's very difficult whenever you look at someone who has been accused of doing something like domestic violence because it has such it has such a reaction in our society that it's much harder for you to overcome those types of accusations as opposed to other types of crimes that people commit. It's hard to shake that. It's hard to gain redemption from it. I mean, this is a different situation, but when you look at someone like Michael Vick and the dog fighting and what he did and went to jail for, people still today, and this is decade after he did what he did, maybe even more, like maybe it's almost 15 years after what he did. I don't remember exactly how many years it was, but I mean, people still today, when you say Michael Vick, they turn their noses, they get frustrated, and they start complaining. It's like has to be a time where a person who serves pays the time for the crime gets a second chance to show that they have learned and grown from that. We saw Michael Vick did that. He got into no more trouble after that. You know, if Greg Hardy can stay on the up and up, keep winning and turn his life around, then, you know, to keep bringing up something that he did in the past, I mean, there has to be an end to it. So, you know, I wanted to have this conversation because I think that the notion of redemption in our society has been lost. And, you know, we say that we are a society of second chances. We say that we root for the underdog. You know, this is one of those times where that flies in the face of what is our cultural heritage there. So, talking about underdogs, someone who is definitely not an underdog is Anderson Silva, by many considered to be the greatest of all time, but those people would be wrong.
Get out of here.
Anderson Silva is a mispronunciation of Hoist Gracie. Anderson Silva says that he is interested in fighting George St. Pierre. George St. Pierre, incidentally, said he is interested in fighting the winner of Khabib versus McGregor.
Because that makes more sense. The thing is, Anderson Silva is done. He's too old. There's no money even to be made in that fight. Like, I don't think anyone wants to see Silva fight anymore. Like, just take your legend status and be a coach.
John, what do you think?
Hey, man, you know I'm all about old people fighting, okay? You know I'm all about the master division, okay? That's a perfect fight right there. Anderson, the Spider Silva, widely regarded as one of the greatest fighters, not one of the greatest of all time, but one of the greatest fighters. And we have GSP, who's also regarded as one of the dogged fighters of UFC. I would love to see that fight. However, okay, you're right. They're both old. We're not going to see much. I mean, we may see some endurance out of both of them, but at this point, they've both done it. And there is money to be made. But really, these two, if they were to fight, if both were to fight, it would just be because they wanted to fight. They don't have anything to prove amongst each other. Just call it a day. Let it be what it be. Two old men just jumping in the ring and just going for it. Well, I call GSP old. He's old by fighter standards. But, you know.
Yeah, I was just about
GSP is still in his 30s.
Just won. GSP
he's like 30. I think he's still like 37 or 38, something like that. You know.
Yeah, he's still in his 30s.
He still got it.
Anderson Silva is getting close. Is knocking on the door of 50. So you know,
is he that old?
Yeah. I mean, we can look at this. We can look this up.
In real time.
I'm looking it up right now.
Anderson Silva's 43. That is knocking on the door.
Well, I can't really. No, he's young because I'm 43. He is young. He is vital. He can sprint, hurdle. He can fight. All right, give him a title shot.
Yeah, Masters Division.
Anderson Silva. I was not impressed by his performance in his last fight. Like, he's old.
George St. Pierre's 37.
Yeah, but I don't think it's about just the age. It's about what you still have left in your tank. And Silva, though he was leaps and bounds above the competition during his time, the competition has kind of caught up to him. And the striking, he's not as fast as he used to be. His ability to dodge, like it's great. Like congratulations, you're elusive still. But GSP is a lot faster than Silva, so it's a one-sided fight that GSP wins. There's no upside. It doesn't make GSP's legacy greater. It can only hurt Anderson. I think it's a wise move to say if GSP comes back, make it like an ultimate fight where you're fighting the winner of Khabib and McGruber.
So here's a question for you, because whenever they asked GSP about whether or not he would fight Conor McGregor, he's like, I do not fight smaller guys. Now he's like, you know what? I'd be interested in fighting a smaller guy. Like,
who talked the mess? That's who we got to narrow down.
It's the money. That's the thing, is that even George St. Pierre, in all of his, I am a martial artist and all of that stuff that he says, the money talks. And the fact is that he sees a payday because he's the bigger fighter in this. He's got the striking and the speed to match Conor McGregor. He's got the wrestling to match Khabib. I mean, it would be a tough matchup, but the fact is that, I don't like the fact that he's kind of attempting to take advantage of it. This looks like a bad form to me. Either you are a martial artist that you have these morals and these values that you don't fight smaller guys because, it's not interesting to you, then don't fight those guys, even if it could make you a ton of money.
Yep.
All right. Speaking of Conor McGregor, did you know that he is the most underrated fighter in the UFC, according to Dana White?
Did you know that Dana White's got a show to sell?
Yeah, I do, but I mean, are you guys buying it at all? Like, I listened to the whole clip. Basically, what he says is, in my opinion, it's crazy to say this because of how popular McGregor is around the world, but he's one of the most underrated fighters in the UFC. Everybody thinks that because he speaks so well and gets so crazy and everything, it makes him less of a fighter. It's the weirdest thing I've ever seen. When you talk about pound for pound, best in the world, this is the guy who's living proof of actual pound for pound. I think that is crazy.
Yeah.
Did you know that Dana White also said that women would never fight the UFC? Do you remember that? He's crazy. He's out of his mind. Everybody knows that I think if anything, Conor McGregor's now gets him into fights that he can actually fight with. Okay, he's not underrated. He's actually right at the level that he said. He talks the talk and he walks the walk. So where's the underrated at? I'm waiting to be impressed.
If he beats Khabib, and that's the test of a real wrestler. So if he beats Khabib and people still talk trash to him, then you have a case for it. But right now, it's fair for those who are not in the Conor McGregor camp to be like, the guy is an amazing striker. He really is. He can hit you right on the button. Mm-hmm. But if he takes you down, or he gets taken down, he's got no jiu-jitsu, no wrestling defense. His best bet is to tap.
Yeah, I mean,
that's a British curse.
Yeah, it is. It is. And, I want to go back to the fact that, and I this is what I was talking about 3 years ago. 3 years ago, I was saying that Conor McGregor had the most easy trip to the championship as you were going to find in the UFC. Fighting Marcus Brimage, his first fight in the UFC. That fight, Conor McGregor was twice. You could put two Marcus Brimages on top of each other in a trench coat, and they'd still be smaller than Conor McGregor.
That's awesome.
He fought Max Holloway when Max Holloway had just come into the league in 2013. Like, this is 5 years ago. Not Max Holloway that we see today, but a young Max Holloway. Diego Brandao was an undersized person. Dustin Poirier, which was a tough fight at 145, Conor McGregor got out of there with the back of the head punch, according to KC.
It's true. Come on.
The next fight was Dennis Seaver. Dennis Seaver, who was only 93 years old, only slightly larger than Marcus Brimage. The only thing that Dennis Seaver knows how to do is a spinning back kick. And that positioned him that positioned Conor McGregor. The win over Dennis Seaver positioned Conor McGregor for a title shot against Jose Aldo, which, if you remember, Jose Aldo got injured, and so Chad Mendes had to come in as a late fight replacement with like 2 weeks
not even a full 2 weeks. Full credit here.
Yeah, he came in there, took Conor McGregor down, won the first round, bloodied Conor McGregor up, and then gassed out in the second and took a left hand on the chin. Now, where we have to give Conor McGregor credit, he beat Jose Aldo in 13 seconds with a well-placed shot he hit Jose Aldo on the button. Then Conor lost to Nate Diaz. Then he beat Nate Diaz in a very, a majority decision. Okay. Mm-hmm. So it was controversial. He beat Eddie Alvarez, and then he hasn't fought in the UFC since. So
his best fight was Eddie Alvarez.
His best fight was Eddie Alvarez, who was grossly underprepared for what Conor had to bring. But, I just want to say that as much as we build Conor McGregor up, I'm with you guys. He is well placed. We know who he is.
They are who we
Yeah,
thought
you're going to
they
go
were.
Dennis Green? Conor McGregor is who we thought he was, and we let him off the hook. Literally that's what we did. I mean, with the whole, gosh, man. Anyway, so I think Khabib, when you look at Khabib and what Khabib has gone through to get to where he is versus what Conor, Khabib had to climb the mountain. Conor took the elevator. And
True.
And the fact is, when you look at who Khabib has fought, we're going back to 2013, Thiago Tavares, Abel Trujillo, Pat Healy. These are small names, but then you have Rafael Dos Anjos. You've got Michael Johnson. You've got Edson Barbosa. Come on now. All of these guys are top contenders. And so when you start looking at, okay, well, he was supposed to fight Tony Ferguson, who was, once again, another top contender. Tony got hurt, had to fight Al Iaquinta. If it wasn't for Conor, Khabib would have ended up fighting someone like Michael Chiesa.
Oh, right.
But I'm just saying, we discount Khabib for fighting Al Iaquinta, who's ranked number 11. Michael Chiesa at the time was ranked like number 6. So, when we start looking at who Khabib has had to go through, I'm saying one person climbed the mountain, the other guy took the escalator. This should not be this fight. This is all about what is going to happen when Conor gets in the grasp of Khabib Nurmagomedov. So I don't buy what Dana White is saying. I think it's ridiculous. Conor McGregor is good, but he ain't great. Talking about somebody who's great.
Me?
Quentin Rampage Jackson, former champion.
Oh, no.
Quentin Rampage Jackson decided that he was going to take a fight against a Ford F-150. I shouldn't put it that way. I apologize.
Yeah, no.
He was crossing the street and a Ford F-150 hit him, knocking him 20 feet away.
He
I'm
got
surprised that
GTA.
the Ford worked. Like, he could have crushed the Ford.
What this goes with, it's hard. It's hard. Okay. I'm just, don't say it. Don't say it. But it's hard. It's hard for me not to poke fun. And I know that this is serious, but it's like, oh my gosh, no wonder why people couldn't knock Rampage out. Dude can get hit by a truck and still come back walking. Had to get staples and 42 stitches on his face, leg, and torso.
Still wants to fight.
And he's like, I'm still in on that Wanderlei Silva fight. Just, don't count me out. I don't need a replacement. I'm still fighting in September.
That's when you know you're hard. Okay, that's hard right there. That's what the old school UFC brings. Okay, the old school UFC pride. That's what that is right there. So KC, if you're Wanderlei Silva,
You're going into a fight with a guy who survived an encounter with a Ford F-150. Do you have enough punching power to stop this dude, or do you just take him down?
I'm just going to hit him exactly where the truck did. Are you kidding me? The blueprint is already created.
It depends on what he comes, on what his interest music is. If he's coming in with like Bryan Adams, Everything I Do for You, and he's non-Canadian, I'm tapping. I'm doing a verbal tap right there.
Oh, my
I
goodness.
can't fight this guy.
Here we go.
He just got hit with an F-150, and he's coming in with Bryan Adams. I'm good. I'm good with taking a loss today, okay? I'm coming in overweight. I'm sorry. You know, I took steroids. I juiced up before I came. I'm admitting to things, and I may not even did it, okay?
Now,
I'm going to go find somebody to steroid it out with and take their urine and send it to his office. This is mine. Okay, that's what I'm doing. Sorry.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so Casey, last week I said that you and John were the world's worst at picking fight. You were off the hook.
Thanks.
You cannot share.
Bryan
You cannot share that title with John Keys. Listen, all I'm going to say is that
you're non-Canadian,
John, if those are your keys to victory, the door is going to stay locked. That's all I'm saying.
That actually works, and I'm going to give you those 2 points for that. Okay, but I'll just say it. All right, Bryan Adams, non-Canadian. You're coming in on his walk music fan, and you're not Bret Hart. Okay, I'm done. I'm good for this fight. Okay, I'll just lay on the mat and pretend like I'm asleep. Okay, and there you go.
All right. Hey, one last thing on Conor. There was a rumor that Conor was brushing up his wrestling with Jordan Burroughs. Now, if you don't know who Jordan Burroughs is, he's a USA Olympic gold medalist and 4-time world wrestling champion. The rumor was that he was brought in to work with Conor to help him train wrestling to prepare for Khabib. Jordan when he heard about it, he got on Twitter and he was like, no. Listen, Mr. Khabib Nurmagomedov, sir, I am not working with your opponent in any way, shape, or form. Please do not send those guys. Apparently, Jordan Burroughs is training for his own world championships in October, and he's actually a friend of Khabib's. There's a great story that you can find on the web about Jordan Burroughs going to a wrestling tournament in Dagestan, where Khabib is from, and the way the story goes is when Khabib found out that Jordan Burroughs was going to Dagestan, Khabib was like, I have friends. They take care of you. And what happens is when Jordan Burroughs lands in Dagestan, like, guys show up and they're like, we take you for a good time. And they show him all over the city. They take him for a great time. He has an amazing time. And Khabib didn't know anything. He just like, yeah, that's what we do. We are hospitable. And it's crazy. What's funny about this story is now that Jordan Burroughs has denied the fact that he is helping Conor prepare for this fight, Khabib's dad, Abdulmanap Nurmagomedov, gets in and throws a couple of punches of his own about Conor McGregor. Do you have it up, KC?
I do. And I'm not. You want me to do the voice?
Yeah, I want you to do the voice. Like, I'm trying to do it, but I can't do it. You can do it.
Nah, I'm good.
All right, I'm not going to attempt it. John, do you have a Russian accent? Can you do a Russian accent?
And I'll be kicked off this show.
All right. So here's what Khabib's dad said. He goes, look, let's put together the best wrestling coaches from Dagestan, Japan, the USA, Turkey. He says, even they will not be able to prepare Conor McGregor for this fight in 3 months. No one can help him. You can't do that in such a short time. He needs to start studying it from the beginning to improve his wrestling in several months. It's impossible. What he is saying is that bring the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, and the Marines. You cannot be saved from Khabib Nurmagomedov, Conor McGregor. It is coming. It is going to be painful. It is going to be hard. And I approve of that message.
I was like, did you heard what you just said, right?
Listen, you're the one who
phrasing.
Listen, okay, I'm gonna. You are the person who cannot say no to a "that's what she said" joke, and so now that I've realized how in the last story, I realized how many times you wanted to say it. Yes, I am trying to get as many "that's what she said" jokes that you can't say.
Oh my god!
I'm just driving you crazy, man.
I'm trying to be a better person.
Why?
What we know from this is that KC has shown that he can show restraint when he wants to. Let's go on to the final segment and end the show with the fight card. This is the fight card. This is where we talk about the fights that are coming up. We get to talk about the Red Crested stepchild that is Bellator. They have a fight on Friday night, August 17th. Bellator 204, Coldwell versus Lahat in Sanford, Pentagon, Sioux Falls, South Dakota. I really only know one fighter on this card. I still have a lot to learn about the Bellator promotion. But Taiwan Claxton is fighting Chris Linkeone. James Gallagher.
Sure.
Yeah. James Gallagher versus Ricky Bandejas. You've got Logan Storley. Bandejas.
Oh, Bandejas.
Yes, Bandejas.
Yeah.
Logan Storley versus AJ Matthews, and then Darren Caldwell, who is the champion, going in against Noad Lahat. That is I only know Darren Caldwell. I know that Noad Lahat had a fight a couple of months ago, and he won in decisive fashion. I still like Darren Caldwell in this fight. I'm going to go with the champ. Any other flash picks from you guys?
God bless Bellator for bringing out, putting unknown talent on the screen and letting us get to view their skill set. That's all I got.
I support it.
All right. UFC Fight Night, Gaethje versus Vick in Lincoln, Nebraska. There's like 6 fights on the card. Eric Yaboy Anders versus Tim Williams. It's a middleweight fight. You got John Chicano Morega versus Davison Deus Dagara Figueiredo. Look at that. You got Jake the Juggernaut Ellenberger versus Brian Bam Bam Barberina. You got Cast Iron Courtney Casey versus Angela Hill. I can't say it because it's not true.
Oh my goodness. Congratulations, buddy. You didn't denigrate Angela Hill for once.
Just did. You missed it?
You just missed that, dude. Okay.
I snuck that one by you. Oh, that's awesome. Score 1 point for me.
The jab, dude.
Yeah, he takes the jab a lot. Angela, some people may call her Overkill Hill, is fighting Cast Iron Courtney Casey. Michael the Menace Johnson versus Andre Touchy-Feely is the co-main event. And then in the main event, you got number 7, Justin Gaethje versus number 10, Texas boy, James the Texecutioner Vick. Do not judge him for his nickname.
But
it's going to be appropriate this weekend.
Yeah.
Kill Justin Gaethje.
Yeah.
Very brutal, man.
So that's your flash fight pick. You're going with Vic?
Yeah.
KC, you got a flash fight pick, Gaethje versus Vic? Yeah, I think I would be quiet too. I'm actually taking James Vick. James Vick is way too big to be a lightweight. That dude needs to be fighting somewhere around middleweight. I think Gaethje's going to try to kick his legs, but I think he's going to try to kick his legs, but I don't think it's going to matter. Gaethje takes way too much damage in these fights. I think James Vick is going to finish this thing.
I agree. He's gonna put it on him, and I don't think you should let your kids watch Okay, to be quite honest. It's going to be quick, but it's going to be brutal at that.
All right. Well, shout out to James Vick. We got your back here. All right. KC has returned. Do you have a pick for this?
No. I
Okay.
said Michael the Menace. Oh, wait. Was I on mute earlier?
Yes.
Yeah.
Dude, I've had so much great commentary that I'm like, okay, I guess no one's catching it. Even threw in that's what she said and everything. Like, all right.
Yeah. Oh, man.
So Justin Gaethje versus Michael Vick. James Vick.
All right. I'm going with Gaethje here.
All right. Great. I can't wait to play the crow sound next week.
Good.
All right. So thank you guys so much for joining us on the show. Follow us on social media. On Twitter, I'm at CST Ryan.
And so am I.
And John is at
Keys to Victory.
with the ES.
Yes, really, yeah.
And you can check out the website at www.combatsportstalk.com. You can find us on iTunes, SoundCloud, Facebook, Instagram, and Spotify. We now have merchandise on Amazon. Search for Combat Sports Talk. We added a new section for live events. Check out the live event. We did a live event. We also had KC at the fight. We almost had John, but maybe we'll get him next time. It was really fun. We had a great time.
I enjoyed myself thoroughly.
It was great. So check out the live reactions of the fights. We do the pay-per-views live with G Money, George Stallworth. It's great. It's interesting. It's worth listening to. And with that, let's get out of here.
Hold on. Breaking news.
What?
Glover Teixeira is out of UFC Sao Paulo.
Yeah.
Apparently he has suffered an injury, so he is out. So that's all I got.
All right. Do they have a replacement for him yet?
They have not named him yet.
All right. Well, there you have it. Late breaking news from John Keys the Victory. All right. Let's get out of here. Our theme music is composed by Scott McCurry at scottdeancountry.com. KC Onyebuchi produced our lead-ins. I want to thank you for joining us for another edition of Combat Sports Talk. For John Keys and KC Onyebuchi, I'm Ryan Smith, reminding you to keep your hands up, your chin tucked, and throw balls.